discuss about application procedure,
Right.
step by step. So all you can fill the form with our live video. So on first page, we have a question. Write 50-word summary of your proposed plan. So sir, what does proposed plan means?
All right. So before that, let me quickly tell you in Pakistan, because the first shortlisting procedure is on the national level. Although this is a global program, but the first shortlisting procedure is national, which is Pakistan. So, for example, they'll receive some 1,500 applications. So make sure you're really doing your best, giving your best. So there are 4 rounds. The first round is that you're really completing your application. So United States Education Foundation in Pakistan and their team, they will look into your application, right? They will see if it's incomplete or it's complete application. So that's the first round. So you need to send all the documents and all the checklists, whether you've submitted everything required by the United States
So it is
Education.
basically an online.
It's an online application. You cannot send any copy.
First
Probably
you
they
have
will,
to
yeah.
log in to the
Exactly.
account.
Exactly.
There would be an email
Right.
on your email,
Okay.
and only then you can access that.
Application account. So that's part 1,
Part.
right? I'll talk about the application, how to go about it. The round 2 would be they really assess your application. So, for example, they will read your SOP, they will read your documentation, they will read your, for example, proposed plan. They will see the reference letters submitted by your referees, and then they decide whether you're shortlisted for interview or not. So the first procedure is they'll check your application whether it's complete or not. Second is they evaluate your application, right? And the third process is interview. So people who are shortlisted from the first 2 rounds are called for an interview in Islamabad, and the commission is a kind of collection of accomplished Pakistani and people from the US, and some of Humphrey alumni also sit on the panel. And the fourth, the most important area is your final selection, which is not done in Pakistan, which is done in the United States by a Fulbright commission, and they decide whether your people are selected or not. So they select the principal
And
candidates.
making TOEFL after your selection?
Yeah, exactly. So by the time after even your interview, they ask you, or maybe before that, they will fund everything for that. They'll send you a voucher. So once you're selected, they'll ask you to take TOEFL, IBT. So for example, if somebody's getting 71 and beyond, they don't need the pre-academic course. They will go directly to the United States in August. But the people who need some kind of help with language, they go a couple of months earlier. So it doesn't matter. Don't worry about TOEFL at all, because if you score good, it's okay. But if you don't score good, they will provide you an opportunity for pre-academic tests. But give you a bet, that's TOEFL IBT to be funded by USCFP. They will send you a voucher, right?
So
Okay, that's a 4 round. And now your question was about
propose.
all right, a proposed
Which
plan.
is you have to write in a summary of 50 words only.
Exactly. So
It should be a limit.
it's called your vision, your goals, and how you achieve those particular goals. And remember, there's no technically one go SOP to be written like other universities ask you to write one SOP. So what is happening here? They're asking you different questions. So if you sum them up, for example, add them up, it makes automatically a SOP. So SOP probably in one of the talks, probably you were there with the Hubert program we talked about. So SOP is your chance to interact with your evaluators, with the examiner. So remember, before the interview, you want to meet to the examiners or evaluators is through SOP. So make sure whatever you're writing actually shows yourself, your motivation, and about your plans. So these are a set of goals that you have to achieve through this Humphrey Fellowship program. So for example, there could be short-term goals and long-term goals. So for example, in English language teaching, or for example, in higher education administration policy planning, or in environmental policy. So for example, Pakistan is facing acute issues with water or maybe energy crisis. So somebody wants to go in that field, want to show what they want to learn from the US and want to bring back to Pakistan so that they can help solve or advice some policies so that this particular issue can be really addressed.
No matter what background you are, you can always switch your field for this.
Probably it's really multidisciplinary field. Once you go there, probably they encourage you to take courses from any field. At this stage of application, it is recommended that people have some relevant experience or maybe degree to apply for that. Because remember, that's the graduate level program. Graduate level means it's master's or level program, it's not maybe undergraduate level program. So they ask you the degree for a particular reason that you need to have some kind of background of the field along with experience. That's why they are encouraging candidates having 5 years plus experience in their respective fields.
So the next question is, please describe how your work addresses the need of your country. Describe how the knowledge and skill you will gain will help you address your country development need. 400 to 500.
Right, so that's quite a bit, right?
Yeah.
Quite a lot.
So that we
So you
can
need to really divide into that. So, for example, identify whether your field or you want to go to Humphrey program addressing to the development needs. So, for example, education, if you see Millennium Development Goals, so you find that what is central to development. So, for example, poverty elevation, women empowerment, right? Or maybe education, right? Or maybe languages, right? How to uplift or how to really encourage your local languages to really be to come into the mainstream media or mainstream education. So it's important that you identify development needs. So one thing is about, for example, water or energy, right? So find out that particular need, right? And see how I'm going to really achieve that. So, for example,
if someone is from journalism, how can he relate this need of country to?
So, for example, in Pakistan, sometimes we see that we don't have free journalism in Pakistan, right? So, and we don't have a freedom of expression. A lot of people say that. So, for example, journalist human rights. A lot of journalists killed in Pakistan. Probably find out what how US is tackling or how the United States is really helping achieve that particular goal. So a lot of journalists go there, find out the relevant laws which really apply, probably go work with international organizations or meet the fellow journalists, the leading journalists in the world. Probably when you come back, you have some kind of collaboration and you write some story. We had a couple of people, for example, one of our friends working with Summer TV in Islamabad. So he went there, he worked with probably CNN, and now he started his own probably radio, right? So that was all because he learned from there. He initiated the program in Pakistan, and that's also one of the biggest success stories.
So if someone is from administration, how can he relate this point with the contribution to this point?
So,
what address the need?
So in administration, again, that goes to a different field. That's so HRM as one of the fields, or even finance. So administration comes under every field. Higher education administration, to which I was part of because I was working here as a director. Probably not wide experience of handling with administration. Probably when I went there, I attended a lot of courses on higher education administration. So how U.S. education, how U.S. universities work. So I've got their different hierarchies, and they provided me opportunity to visit different sections of the university, attend the course. I learned history of U.S. universities, how they have evolved, right? And when I came back, probably I tried to really adopt some kind of practices in the United States so that I can perform as a better administrator. So then you see the history of Humphrey fellows or alumni from Pakistan. They're mostly from the civil service. So they're senior secretaries or people working with audit, accounts clerk or finance clerk. So when they come back, or even the police, a lot of people at IG level, they were my colleagues, I remember, in 2015 and 16. But when they come back with great experience, and really they brought a lot of changes to the area they were working in. So yes, there's a lot of opportunity for administration and training.
So the next question is, describe the type of Humphrey program you would like to design. Indicate the kinds of academic and professional experiences you would like to pursue.
All right. So, as I told you already, you need to identify areas you want training on. Okay. So, for example, I went on higher education administration policy planning, and to some extent, I also took some courses on curriculum development. Right. So I knew what are those universities or departments or courses that would ultimately help me achieve my goals.
So how you can plan this?
So you can Google the university. So for example, although you don't have any choice of selecting any university, you will be allocated to a particular university. It's not your choice, but quite close to your choice, they will allocate you to a particular university.
So
for example,
you are not.
I mean, you don't have any choice in selecting your university. They will give you allocate you to a particular university. So I would say go to the USCP website or maybe the website of Hubert Humphrey Fellowship Program that we will share. They are host universities. So for example, at the moment there are I think 80 universities, right? And maybe say if somebody wants to go in finance, economic development, I think Boston University is the leading university. I was the only fellow in higher education administration, and the other one was in English, and other 8 fellows from different corners of the world were from the entrepreneurship or from the economic development or fields like that. So I would suggest you to go to that particular university website, like Google kind of courses being offered, and start planning. So this is identify the course and write in your program plan that I want to attend these particular courses. And the second component would be identify workshops that you want to attend or the conference that you want to present at. There's huge funding by the U.S. government to help you achieve this particular topic. They provide you with $2,500 maximum to attend conferences and workshops beyond your funding for the Hubert and Humphrey Fellowship. There's a huge funding for that, so identify those opportunities. The third thing is also about the professional affiliation, which is also compulsory part of Hubert H. Humphrey program. You need to find out where you want to work in the U.S. So, for example, you want to work with the United Nations, and you want to say, I want to see how ambassadors work, and in future I want to see myself ambassador. So probably work there, apply. There's a set of procedure to apply. So dream, plan, set kind of goals, and write in your program plan. It should be, I'd say, be crazy. It's okay. It's okay to be crazy when you're writing your plan. So, for example, if I had not dreamt to work with Noam Chomsky, I would never have achieved my goal. So people would call me crazy. Why would Noam Chomsky take you as a post office scholar? But I dreamt and achieve my goal. So be crazy when you're writing the program plan, but definitely there should be some foundation of being crazy as well. So identify, search.
The next question is, please describe how you will demonstrate a strong commitment to public service. Yes, in bracket it's written community, civic involvement, or professional responsibility.
All right.
In just 200 to 250 words.
Right. So partly answers the question, because when you're writing an application and when you go there, there are minimum number of hours you need to really spend in community service. And person who spends the maximum number of hours in community service is awarded with the kind of certificate or probably a cash prize by the US Congress. A lot of people last time also they won. The people really like it. So identify the area. So you want to work with, for example, illegal immigrants, or you want to work with any community school, or people are involved in drugs, so probably helping them come back in your life, or probably you can go and work with older people there in a different organization, or maybe in charity organizations, or maybe in the charity hospitals, right, or fundraising for a specific cause. So you need to identify the areas, not in the United States, but also in Pakistan. So once you come back here, how are you going to really relate it? How are you going to really serve to the public and community.
So the next question is somewhat related to your answer. Please state your professional goals for next 5 years. How will the Humphrey program will help you reach these goals?
All right. So it's a kind of future self, I call. So how do you see, or where do you see in the next 5 to 10 years, right? So for example, if I say I want to see myself in the leadership position, maybe an education background. So let's say, for example, in bigger position, or people working in the finance ministry, or people working with police, they say I want to become Inspector General of Province Sindh, right? And a lot of people went to the Humphrey program. So you need to say how is Humphrey Fellowship program, or the courses, or the professional affiliation is going to help you achieve that particular goal. So for example, if I want to be the vice chancellor of some university in Province Sindh, or somewhere in the country, how is this program helping me? That's why I took the courses like higher education administration, how to handle finances, how to handle the student issue, how to handle curriculum, right? All these issues. So you need to first of all answer this question: where do you want to see yourself in coming 5 years? So for example, you say I want to see myself in this position, and then design a program which really helping you achieve that long-term goal in 5 years. So write that, and again I say dream. Don't worry about people. If they want to become IG, or you want to become Minister of Education, just write that. But write how you're really going to achieve that one. And this fellowship program is technically going to help you achieve that one. Okay?
Okay. So the next question is, describe a problem or a challenging situation that you resolved by using your initiative. What was the outcome? Please select this example carefully. It should illustrate something that you would like, that you want the review panel to know about your problem solving, leadership abilities, and commitment to public service.
Again, you need to think through, probably no rush at all. Think about a difficult situation, right? And think how did you resolve that particular issue. So write a couple of examples in your life. It can be personal, it can be professional, something which has great power, which can really move other examiners, right? How did you really change that particular situation, which otherwise probably would have been impossible to really resolve. So for example, in my case, I remember I was working with an engineering university, and remember the non-engineering subjects were considered as a secondary. The primary focus was engineering, and probably not an ideal situation for non-engineering to work with Mehran University. Okay, but the good thing was we had to really talk to the higher administration, which is very positive about exploring possibilities for advancement. So we had to take a lot of efforts to convince them to provide us the PhD scholarship, and they provided me PhD scholarship. They gave us a huge funding to establish a building and to start a non-engineering MPhil PhD program in English language, right, which was otherwise impossible in the more than 60 years history of the university. So there was a problem they identified on the faculty that probably were not that important, but then we really shifted from that particular, or we really solved this with help of for sure administration, but we really match our vision with theirs. Once you do that, you have really a good plan, what is called IPP, which is your program plan. If you really plan, nothing can really stop you from achieving the particular goal. So quote a story which is really moving, can be personal or professional, maybe any particular situation that you face, but you really came out of it as a victor, and quote that example which is really inspirational for the people. And I think quote a personal, something very, very close to your heart, really involve or attach your emotion with that particular story that you're writing, right?
So the example you gave, what was the outcome? Did you really solve that problem?
Exactly. So first of all, we got the scholarships for the faculty members here. We got the huge building, which is now known as English Language Development Center. We started three big programs, which is called MPhil Master's Program in English Language, the first ever in history of 50 years history of the university. So there was a problem we solved with definitely help of the administration, but probably we matched our vision with theirs. That's the only thing, and we really convinced them this particular field has really great potential. But remember, normally non-engineering fields are not given that much importance. But this is basically an engineering university, but we had to really convince that and really solve that particular problem, and now it's working. The rest of the history, I would say.
So this is a big achievement.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Thanks.
The next thing is please enter. So, sir, for this program, reference, how much the reference is important, and from whom we can take the reference.
Normally, they require two references. One from your employer. So for example, in our case, working with the university, if the vice chancellor, they would give you a reference. The other would be probably a teacher or the last institution as chief and head of the department who can really comment on your potential to pursue this particular program. So technically, there are two references. One is your employer, another maybe a teacher or maybe a colleague that you already work with. Probably from the last institution, that is what preferred. References play a central role in selection procedure. I just want to quote one example. I was on the review and selection committee Hubert and Humphrey program last year. So we received one reference from one foreigner for a candidate who was applied for the Humphrey program. But probably there was something wrong with reference, and that role I recommend this guy with strong reservations, and that was common in the reference letter. So I would say, and that was the only point. Definitely that person didn't get through. Otherwise, was wonderful in his credentials and experience. So references play a vital role. Try to identify people who give you neutral comments.
Most of the time, they ask you what we can write for you.
Definitely, you can't dictate them. People who know you. So, for example, if my boss is writing it for me, I've been working with my boss for the last 10 and 13 years, but probably you don't need to tell them or tell him or what you're going to write for me. It's going to be very neutral, unbiased approach. So, I would say choose your referees carefully, not in a way that somebody will give you very positive comments, but the person who knows you, person who can highlight your challenges and your strong points. It's not only a letter for praising you, right? It's about identifying the needs and the training areas that you want, the courses that you want to achieve. The person who knows you, not somebody who does not know you. And probably I shared you one example. The person can write like that. That I recommend them with a strong reservation. Probably your career is ruined, right? So probably choose your referees who you really know, right? And those are unbiased.
So, this came to end our application procedure. The main point, we discussed the main points. Now, I would like to know some more experiences from Sir Humphrey. That after coming back to your country, how did you apply your knowledge to this?
All right, so it was personal as well as applying on the community as well. Probably the first thing was I completed a book. It was published also, and we completed a research report. And when under supervision of Professor Chomsky, that was about indoctrination through state-controlled books in Pakistan. So when I came back, I completed that particular report, published in local newspapers, so that we really have people have access to that particular report. On the other hand, I was part of a committee education department. I say enough is enough. We're now really gonna change our curriculum. So I was part of two different committees. One is the Provincial Curriculum Development Committee, and another was NCRC, which is National Curriculum Review Committee. So I shared my experiences, which I really learned from the United States here, and told them, for example, to include the themes into the curriculum, like climate change, global warming, terrorism, other than religion and ideology all the time. So we shared our experience with them, and they were really, they really received it quite well, and probably it's going to be part of it. And other than that, we're working on different research projects with Boston University, and I'm in touch with Dr. Director of the Humphrey program at Boston University. We are in touch, and we are working on different research projects and a lot of research reports. So that's just one example.
So after coming back from such exchange fellowships or scholarships, what are the benefits? You are connected to some alumni thing?
Yeah. So you become part of the biggest alumni in Pathan. Pathan is, actually sends the maximum number of Fulbright and Humphrey fellows amongst 100 and 200 countries, right? So we have an annual conference here. We call it annual conference of Fulbright and Humphreys. So you get an opportunity to meet your seniors, opportunity to meet different Fulbrighters and know what are they doing and what are they working. And I had an opportunity to, I was invited by USFP, and so we gave a talk on our experiences in the United States. I presented a talk, followed by first national convention of Hubert Humphrey alum, which convened last year, where all alumni met and shared their views in Islamabad. So we have different conferences. We have alumni impact funds. So you can really want to initiate a project or startup. You want to become an entrepreneur, probably they'll help you or they'll fund you. I think the maximum amount you can win is $25,000. These are small scale grants. And also they have got funding for the research paper presentation in the United States. So for example, if you have your paper accepted in one international conference, so Hubert Humphrey alums can apply for the funding and go there and present the papers or attend any kind of workshop.
So this has came to our end, and now I would like to ask few questions on behalf of our audience. Number one, first we have a question that can we take our dependents along with us on this fellowship?
All right, so probably not at this stage. You can take your dependents with you after October. So you need to join your program on J1 visa, right? And you've got to go in August, but you cannot ask your dependents to join you till October. Hubert Humphrey program does not support or does not give you extra funds for the families. You need to really support your children, or maybe you want to take your wife or family. You've got to support or fund them yourself. So technically there's no funds for them, but you can take your family along, or you can invite them in the US after October. That means you join in August and you got to wait for 2 months. And there's really reasons why they don't allow, because there's a lot of traveling involved in this program. You do not remain in one place. So sometimes you go to New York, sometimes you go to Washington DC for maybe a global leadership forum, which is the biggest opportunity, and then you go to different workshops and you go to different conferences. So probably there'll be issues with family once you're really traveling across the US. But yes, you can really invite them after October, and you need to really fund them.
What is the timeline of the program?
It's 10 to 12 months. So it's 1 year. You've got to complete everything within 1 year.
And how much time does it take to actually accept your application, and after that you are going? So how much time duration is that?
So probably they'll start interviewing, for example, the deadline for application is July.
Yes.
So they will shortlist students. So probably the shortlisting process starts from September. They will give you a final decision by February, March. The first batch goes to US in May or in June. The last batch goes in August. So
Okay.
probably you'll go, people applying this year will go 2019, and that'll be sometime May through August.
Okay. Now we have a very interesting question. The question is, I worked part-time in professional position while I was in graduate school. Does that qualify me for Humphrey Fellowship program?
I think you've got to be a full-time employee to be really considered for this particular program. Although you have a degree, but probably they need people having full-time, minimum 5 years experience. So probably that will be my answer. But double check with the website. We have a lot of questions available. Check on the website if there is any kind of leeway for them. But as for my understanding, I think they require full-time people working full-time, They have minimum 5 years of experience.
Okay. The next question is the Humphrey program a degree granting program?
No, it's not a degree granting program, probably, but you can go there, identify the degree that you want to pursue in future. But technically, they do not give you any kind of degree. In my case, that was postdoc. Postdoc is not a degree. That's just extension of your PhD research. So probably they will not award you any kind of degree, but you identify degrees that you want to achieve in 5-10 years time, right? So probably they will not award you any degree.
The next question is, may I choose the university I will go to?
No, as I told you already, they will place you in university close to area of your interest. So, for example, if you're in field of education, so the possibility is that you go to Pennsylvania or Vanderbilt or maybe Boston University. If you're in engineering, you'll go to MIT. So you can only guess, but probably you don't have any choice to select your university. You'll be allocated to a particular university by the US government.
The next question is, what does the fellowship stipend covers?
It's a very handsome amount depending on the area that you are. So, for example, I was in Massachusetts. They were paying some $2,900 every month, right? So that covers your ticket to and from Pakistan, first of all, your medical, your tuition, your books, your conference, your living. So everything is covered. So it's really handsome. They give you really handsome amount.
Okay. The next and the last question is, if I'm not selected this year, may I reapply?
Oh yes, you can always reapply with better experiences and better effort to write an application. You can always reapply.
Okay. Thank you so much, sir,
No, sir.
for